Hi everybody, I wanted to do a part 2 to the vlog that I listed a couple of days ago regarding my experience of being through the courts regarding child custody. So my first vlog was kind of quite generic and it covered lots of different topics. So because my case went on for 2.5 years, I thought it would be more helpful to start from the beginning and go through the process. Some of what I went through will ring a bell with you, some won't, but if it helps in any way, then I'm obviously more than happy to do a vlog here. When we lose custody of our children, there are a number of reasons why that may happen. So it could be that you've gone through a divorce or a separation with a partner, and that partner has had the children either for a holiday or just because that's what you initially arranged, but for whatever reason you then from that point are no longer seeing the children or child or children. It could be that you out of the blue are approached one day by a court process server, and this is an individual who is appointed by the courts to serve you papers directly to you, either at your home or your workplace, telling you that you are now going to be involved in a child custody case. Regardless of the way that you have currently lost custody or do not currently have custody of your child or children, the emotional response to any of those circumstances is going to be no doubt the same as mine, which was absolute shock, massive amount of fear, and just horrendous. The emotional response is desperation. Okay. My case in particular, which I said in my first vlog, I won't really talk about in depth, only to give guidance in what could happen in your case. I'm not saying it will happen. My case was very, very lengthy. It went on, as I said before, for 2.5 years. So the initial stages, those first weeks, is really what I'm going to be talking about today in this vlog. So what happened to me was that I was approached one very beautiful May day by a gentleman who pulled up outside my house in a red car. I didn't know who he was. I was sorting out the bins at the time at the front of the property, and he approached me. He asked my name. I confirmed my name, and he handed me quite a thick wad of papers and said, "These are for you." And at the time, my young daughter was on holiday with her father and was due to return that particular day. And I was cooking dinner for her imminent arrival. I was cooking a stew. That's irrelevant, but I remember it so well. And he gave me these papers, and I asked him who he was as he handed them to me, and he said he was from the court. And as he said that, I tried to hand the papers back to him, and obviously he wouldn't take them, so I put them on the ground. I put them on the ground, the pavement in front of my house, because I kind of knew what they were, and I sort of said, I don't want them, I don't want them, I don't want them, and I shut the door on him. I went inside the house and shut the door, and a few minutes later he posted them through the letterbox, and my heart started racing, and it didn't stop racing for about 5 months after that. The shock was, it was like people call it being blindsided. You do feel like you've been knocked sideways by this unbelievable invisible force, and there starts the most horrendous time of your life. I'm not going to, I can't, it's not really fair for me to say the word horrendous, because hopefully your situation won't be the same. But if you are dealing with the initial stages of a child custody dispute, the pain can be almost unbearable. And I said in my first vlog that it's not just emotional, the incredible pain of missing your child or children, but it becomes quite physical because you can get very quickly sick through the stress of the situation. I've spoken about the process server, and so the next thing I did was I got on the phone, of course, to my ex-partner, my daughter's father. He wouldn't pick up the phone. I then got on the phone to friends, family, tried to explain to them what was happening, what's going on. It kind of maybe had an idea in my head that this situation would be resolved that evening, or certainly in the next couple of days, and that, you know, everyone would stop being silly and this would get resolved. It took 2.5 years for the situation to be resolved, and had somebody said to me that day, it's going to take you 2.5 years, I'd never have believed them, and I also didn't think that I'd survive it. So there I was, missing my beautiful little girl, and at the very, 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 very start of a very, very long, very, very painful, so painful battle of my life. I survived it, so it may be kind of, you might be thinking, why is she smiling? Because I've been there. It started 5 years ago. It took me 2.5 years to get my daughter back into my full custody, and that was 2.5 years ago. But as I said in my first vlog, there's not a day that goes by that I don't still think about quite often the pain of everything that I went through, that we went through as a family, that friends went through. So there's an awful lot to talk about. So today's vlog, as I say, is just about those initial days, and trying to give some support to you guys if you are at the start of this journey, whether you are the mother, father, grandparent, carer or extended family. From the time that the process server served the papers on me to say that my daughter wasn't coming back to me, there were probably maybe 10 days where I was searching frantically for a solicitor. I was becoming quite ill with stress, and being self-employed at the time, I was unable to work. I was so desperate and in despair at focusing on nothing else but my child, and so my business at that point started to fold. I was a sole trader, and I couldn't cope with the stress of the situation. So my business I couldn't focus on, and so I was in the middle of a really strange, complex situation whereby I was unable to work, and therefore had no income, and my options were I either represent myself in court when court happens, because it's going to happen, this is how things were, or I find myself a solicitor and I apply for legal aid. The route that I went down was the legal aid route, and it took me, as I said a minute ago, 7 to 10 days to source a solicitor that not only was free to be able to help me at that time, but also accepted clients on legal aid. The legal aid situation and system within the UK is changing quite rapidly, and has been over the last number of years, and it's harder and harder to get legal aid for child custody cases and family court issues. And I find this absolutely tragic, because I don't know where I'd be today had I not had the help that I had from the government via the legal aid route that I went down. I was lucky enough to get help with. And so the first 10 days were kind of a blur of desperately seeking out solicitors, and not knowing where my daughter was. I wasn't being given this information that I'm not going to talk about, but that information wasn't coming through to me. Desperate worry about her well-being. She'd lived with me for the first 3 years of her life. She was only 3 at the time, and wondering, what was she thinking, about where mummy was, and so on. But I can't talk about my specific case. So eventually I sourced a lawyer who was based probably about 15 miles from my home. I had no transport. but it doesn't matter. I got there, I got over to see her, and I remember she stood in her office and I gave her an outline of what had happened and the animosity that had been building up between myself and my daughter's dad over a period of at least probably a year, slowly building. And she very calmly and matter-of-factly said, okay, well, this is going to take about a year to get your daughter back. And I nearly fell over backwards because I thought she was going to say it's going to take probably about 2 weeks now. 12 months she told me it would take. Had she told me at that time, and had I known at that time, as I said earlier, that actually it was going to take 2.5 years, I don't think I would have been able to cope. 12 months she told me it was going to take. She then told me about the work that I'd need to put in that 12-month period. But I'm not going to jump forward. So there I was in the office with my solicitor on that day, and I left kind of like in a zombie mode, heading towards this bus stop to get back to my particular part of the Midlands, and just feeling like my entire world had just changed, and just getting on a bus and getting back to the house, and nothing made any sense, and the house was so quiet and my daughter wasn't with me. And there started the 2.5-year battle, and that's the process that I'm going to go through with you over a number of vlogs to talk you through why I won my case, how I won my case, the work that I put in to win my case, the things you need to do, the things you need to make sure you don't do, and there's work ahead of you. But if you focus constantly on your children, your child, and make them the priority every single day, and never, ever, ever give up, kind of to half quote Winston Churchill, which his quote was a bit different. It wasn't never, ever, ever, but regardless, put the work in and things can be okay. But this is the beginning of a process. I'm more than happy through my vlogs to talk you through the process from day one, from that very first court hearing. I attended over the 2.5 years, probably 25 court hearings, and each one of them terrifying, and each one of them regarding the most unbelievable amount of input from me. And what I mean by input is evidence, statements, diaries, witnesses. There's so much involved in this, but you can have a really positive outcome in your case if you can just calm yourself down, think and focus on your children, and know that this will take time and it will take work, but you can do it. You absolutely can. You absolutely can. Okay? So my next vlog, which will be part 3, is going to start from that first court hearing. What I did to build up to it, how I presented myself at that first hearing, and how things started from there. Okay? So there's lots and lots to get through. But if you want to, anybody who's watching this video wants to leave a comment, I'm happy to respond to that comment as best I can to help as much as I can. I've been there, I've been through every conceivable horrendous type of court situation over my 2.5-year experience within the child custody family courts. So just breathe slowly, stay calm, and I'm going to share in my third vlog what you need to do from court date 1. Okay? So go and get a cup of tea and calm down, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, bye.